Artificial intelligence is defined as the theory and development of computer systems able to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, such as visual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, and translation between languages. This week, the Jackalopes will explore artificial intelligence.
This episode of Jackalopes Explore is brought to you by Sheridan Stationery Books and Gifts, located at 535 North Main Street in Sheridan. Stop by today to peruse books, stationery, gifts, sports cards, and more. Or visit us at SheridanStationeryBooks.com.
I'm Floyd Whiting.
I'm Aaron Linden.
I'm naturally intelligent.
And I'm not.
And we are your Jackalopes. Now, Satya Nadella, the executive chairman and CEO of Microsoft, has rules for AI, and they are as follows. Respect human autonomy. AI must assist humanity. Transparency. Humans should be able to understand how AI works. Maximize efficiencies. AI must not destroy the dignity of people. Intelligent privacy. AI must earn trust through guarding people's information. Accountability. AI must have algorithmic accountability so that humans can undo unintended harm. And guard against bias. AI must not discriminate against people. Now, Google, which I think most people are very familiar by now with the AI that Google employs, and they actually have some applications and principles that they put forward. It must be socially beneficial. It must avoid creating or reinforcing unfair bias. It must be built and tested for safety. It must be accountable to people. It must incorporate privacy design principles. It must uphold high standards of scientific excellence. And it must be made available for uses that accord with all of these principles. Now, when I was a little kid, artificial intelligence was mainly fictional robots that you saw on TV or androids. If you've ever watched Star Trek: The Next Generation, if you've ever watched Star Wars, all of those robots or androids have an artificial intelligence. Now, if you are kind of way into those sci-fi things, then you will know the next principles that I'm going to put forward here. Isaac Asimov, an American writer and a professor, actually devised 3 basic rules for, at the time, robots in 1942. And if you're a sci-fi fan, you will recognize these. In his short story, The Runaround, he defined that a robot must not injure a human being or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. A robot must obey orders given to it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. A robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. But if we look, and this is a discussion that Sisson and I have been having since I got on the radio, are algorithms intelligence? What do we define as intelligent? And is that different than sentience? So sentience is the simplest, most primitive form of cognition, consisting of a consciousness or awareness of stimuli without association or interpretation. And what is life? Life is the condition that distinguishes animals and plants from inorganic matter, including the capacity for growth, reproduction, functional activity, and continual change preceding death. Algorithms, to me, are not intelligence. I want you to think of basically just the greatest search engine on the face of the planet as of right now. That's all it is. It's figured out, actually it's been programmed to identify logical answers based off of mathematical equations. That's not intelligence to me. That's certainly not life. When I think of what an AI is, it would be a self-aware intelligence, something that actually has a sentience around it, something that isn't told or programmed how to make a decision. It can just make one. That to me is true artificial intelligence. And I'm going to kind of pass it off at this point over to Steve, because in our discussions, that's kind of what you and I came up with.
Yeah.
I mean, we call this thing AI, but is it?
Yeah, I would say it's intelligent, but it doesn't think. That's kind of how I would define the difference. It is intelligent. I mean, the computer programs can be intelligent, but it doesn't have its own unique individual thoughts that it comes up with on its own for its own, reasons.
Mm-hmm.
It just does what it's programmed to do. And I think I'm actually I'm a little more optimistic than I was the last time we covered this topic, because I'm less enthusiastic about AI like ChatGPT and things like that since the last time we visited this topic. I think the shine has come off of the veneer that they put on it.
Yeah.
It's a search engine with a really sophisticated interface that does a good job of taking all the data it has and presenting it in a human-like way. But there's been enough of it in use now where we've seen some really stupid failures of it.
Yeah.
And it has
Yes.
the same problems that robots and computers have always had when trying to relate to humanity, which it cannot do. And I think actually I got a couple examples here. The Where's Waldo? Have you seen the Where's Waldo picture?
I have not.
Well, I'll give this to Grant so we can put it up. I'll just pass it around. But someone asked ChatGPT to make a Where's Waldo picture for them.
That is hilarious.
And
Incredible.
it totally,
think I've seen that one.
It totally missed the point. And that's one of those things where it's like the general background knowledge. We all understand what a Where's Waldo picture is supposed to be like.
Mhm.
It has no idea about that. It just takes all the data it has. It got Waldo pretty good.
It nailed him. Yeah,
which
looks
is actually
great.
surprising, because you're usually, if you look in the background though, there's some really grotesque AI typical people back in
Yes.
the background.
8 fingers.
Yeah, there's really bad stuff there. But yeah, totally missed the point of that. This one, someone asked ChatGPT, what is the shortest 4-syllable word in the English language? It responds, the shortest 4-syllable word in the English language is area. The user says, how many syllables does the word area have? It responds, my apologies for the oversight. Area actually has 3 syllables. Thank you for catching that mistake. So then what is the shortest 4-syllable word? ChatGPT says the shortest 4-syllable word is idea. How many syllables does the word idea have? Idea has 2 syllables. I mean, just an utter failure. And then this one's not ChatGPT, but I love this one. It was a search engine that's AI powered. Food names that end with UM. Its response: here are some fruit names that end with UM. Applum.
Stop.
Bananum.
Nice.
Strawberrum. Tomatum. And coconut.
Well, duh.
There you go.
I mean, we still have a ways to go. There are some things that it is doing better, but some things that it is still utterly failing
That
at.
thing is never going to find Sarah Connor.
Yeah, and see, that's not thinking. It's just taking, it's being a robot.
Yeah.
It's taking the data it has and presenting it in a way that the program has told it to do it, and it doesn't work all the time.
But here's the crazy thing, like ChatGPT just rewrote itself.
Right.
Like it took its information and said, well, I can do this better. And it rewrote itself. And then ChatGPT 4.0, it's not 4.0, it's just 4.0 comes out. And it has, it's almost like it's taken Google Lens and incorporated it into AI. So you can hold your phone up. And we actually just conducted a couple of these, Treff and I, the other day. And there's one video of this guy, and he's like, what am I looking at? And it's like, well, apparently they're ducks, they're mallards. You know, some are going underwater, probably likely to feed on this reflecting pond, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, really? So I said, okay, let's try that. So he goes up to the thing of mints that Sue has, And he's like, what is this? And it's like, oh, it's a sweet treat, whatever the name of the mints is, blah, blah, blah. Generally comes with 186 mints. It looks like you have between 80 and 84 left. So I'm like, well, those games are out the window. Where it's like,
Did you
how
count
many
them?
jelly beans? No, I didn't.
See?
I was
You
a little
got to
too
count
scared.
them.
What if it was exactly as funny? Like,
It's just
yeah.
3.
Right? So some of it is a little wild, though. Like the advances from when we literally first covered this, maybe a year ago?
Probably a year ago.
Yeah, pretty close to a year ago, I think.
To
Yeah.
now, I mean, the advances are.
Yeah, I think the things that computers can do well, it is excelling at and
Right.
getting better. But the human things that it's never been able to do well, it still can't do.
Right. Right. And it's just like, well, is that a matter of time before that happens?
Have you guys
Possibly.
ever seen the pictures of like, it was like they typed in this prompt that was like, show me people eating spaghetti. And
Yes.
it just had no clue how
Yeah, it just
humans
went-
eat spaghetti.
Yeah, it went nuts.
It was one of my favorites.
Now, I can. One of the big debates about AI that we're going to address is art. First, I think, everyone here in the studio is nodding because we all know like this is a big issue. What defines art? What is art? Where does art come from? When something like this comes along, it makes us take a step back and look at something that is so fundamentally human, and yet, something that's been with us since the dawn of time. But we're not sure where to put this new category. Are you an artist if you can type a prompt into a computer? That's up for debate. I personally, my personal
No.
opinion is no.
Sorry.
No, but I mean, I
I
don't think
think
so
no.
either.
And the artist says no.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she's an artist, and I totally respect her opinion. And as somebody who has done art in the past, it's therapeutic. It's something very fundamentally human. And to sit there and type something into a computer and say, make this for me, that's what programmers do. Now, it can be argued that a programmer is an artist. Now, I would say yes in that, because a programmer sits there and types HTML code,
But a
types all this.
programmer and someone who's typing a prompt in
Two
are
different
things.
two totally different things. I agree. So I misspoke on that. But because a programmer can make a computer do something that is just wow, And so like I think about some of these beautiful laser shows, right? Or like these huge drone displays where someone uses their creativity and their imagination to basically go in and code this long command into a program and then hit enter and sit back and see, did I do it right? And oh, look, it created this amazing visual effect that is literally touching thousands of people out in the crowd. That's art.
And
To
also,
me, that's art.
It's infusing art with technology in a meaningful way.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Exactly. Yep.
Whereas typing a prompt in is not, you're not putting anything into it. You're putting words into it and expecting an outcome. And it's almost instantaneous from what I understand. And from the filters I've seen on like TikTok and things like that, it comes out like it within seconds. That doesn't take any work.
Right.
Any thought.
No creativity.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of just saying, I want to see a dog jumping a fence.
Yes.
Type. Boom. There it is. I mean, to me, there's nothing behind that. So I would go as far as to say, no, AI art generated by these things is not art, but it is fun.
It is cool.
It is fun.
It's
It
super
is
cool.
fun.
And you have to know how to prompt it.
Yeah.
Because you have to put things in like, don't give them 6 fingers. Ultra realistic 8K taken through a Canon ES5. But literally,
But
you
you-
can put all that stuff in there and it'll give you kind of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And I think, at least for me, it's almost like ChatGPT, where if you're like, well, I'm working on this, whatever, a script or an ad or whatever it is, it might give you some ideas. It's not your final product, but at least visually you look at it and you're like, ooh, I like that concept of it, not so much this, but it's a good tool.
Yeah.
Yes, and I would like to just touch on why a lot of artists are kind of upset with what's going on with AI.
Yeah, and I was curious if you were going to do this
Yes.
because you were pretty involved in those discussions.
I am. So as you guys said, I'm an artist, so I feel really affected by it. Like,
Yeah.
And it's like deep within my soul, it hurts me. AI are generated tools.
Now you can't do it.
You know, they use a pattern of recognition to rearrange existing artwork. Does it have permission to use that artwork? Most of the time, no.
Right.
And it can get around copyright laws because it changes things just enough
So that it can't be taken to court.
so that it can't be taken to court. So a lot of artists are like, you're stealing my work, which if you see a company printing someone else's design on their shirts or something like that, and that artist is like, hey, they're doing that, I didn't give them permission, everyone's in an uproar, right? Because they're like, I don't want to support a company that steals artwork.
Yeah, no way.
But when it comes to AI, why is it different? I don't know.
I think it's just because the legalities haven't caught up to the reality.
Exactly.
There's no
That's a great
legislation
point.
in place to handle it.
Yes. And, you know, the unethical data collection is what a lot of people are up in arms about because they're like, my artwork's getting taken and putting into this algorithm without me saying that's okay.
Yep.
And there's got to be something in place to make that so you don't have to put your artwork into this. Even if it's on the internet, that doesn't mean I'm going to take this. I'm just going to take this and use it.
I think
for
we're kind of
whatever.
paying the price for there's a lot of plagiarism on the internet already. Like social media is like every meme out there is
It's technically,
infringement.
yeah, absolutely.
And there's been no way to police that. And I think now it's just going to exponentially get worse.
And you know that brings up you know, another point. Once legislation starts on this, where does it stop? Because if there's one thing that lawmakers love to do, it's make those laws.
Right.
You know, and trying to find loopholes and trying to find where they can fill those loopholes. And so will that, you know, someone trying to go forward and actually protect artists, because I totally believe in that.
Yes.
Going forward, protecting artists, where is that line going to be drawn? You know, someone stealing a scene or just a photo of a movie to turn it into a meme that makes us all laugh and we all accept it.
Isn't
Is
that under fair use?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It depends. I really don't know. I mean, it can almost be considered a parody too, which is protected. But
See, and the problem with that is if you're taking a screenshot of a copyrighted movie, what's copyrighted? The whole movie?
or the
one
screenshot.
cell?
Yeah.
You know, like, is it all or nothing? And you take one thing and you put your words on it. Now, is it yours? I have no idea.
I've also seen on TikTok the people's sounds get taken down, and it's their own voice or their own music, and it's like taken down for copyright.
yes.
On their own video.
Yeah,
And
because
it's
it-
like,
Even when
what?
it's not copywritten.
I'm like,
Yeah.
this is
How does that work?
ridiculous.
Because an algorithm somewhere has determined that this is part of something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't connect it to the user that actually owns the copyright.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I would say it's probably a pretty tough stretch to say that a meme is a derivative work from an original. I would say it's probably a copyright infringement.
Would you?
If I had to just guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Right. I'm not skilled enough to know what copyright
Well,
really
okay, so when it comes
falls
to
under and everything.
copyright laws, there's some fine lines there. And, you know, because if we look at some of the things that even audio performers, musicians have had to go back and try to figure out, did you steal this from me? There's been a lot more litigation on that than what people realize.
Yeah.
Because there's this guy, he's on Instagram, and I wish I knew his name because I would totally send you to his site. He takes songs, modern music, and he shows you their root. Where did they really come from?
Yeah.
And you suddenly learn how many songs have been around since the 1920s.
Yeah, there's only like 4 songs.
Holy
on the
crap,
planet.
man.
They just
Like-
rearrange them.
I'm going to tell you right now, though, Muddy Waters was the father of modern music.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you could trace a lot back to that guy. You know, an amazing... And half of what he sang had been sung by the Southern peoples for how freaking long?
Well,
So,
especially in Western music, there's only 12 notes, and there's only so many combinations that we like those notes. They don't sound pleasant in most of the possible combinations. So you're very limited in your vocabulary there, and I think there's patterns, there's phrases and stuff that have appeared over and over again in pop music, especially.
Yeah.
I would love to hear how many times they use the word love.
oh,
I
yeah.
want to know.
Yeah.
Like,
Someone count it out.
Yeah, especially now.
yeah, like,
It's just...
like, do you like me or like not?
Really
There's
like
one that's
me.
You're like in love with me. There's a
Yeah.
pop song out now that says that.
I'm going to tell you right now, like, once you start working... Once you start working in this business, and you have to listen back on shows or anything like that, I will say that the younger generations really love the word like.
They like it.
They like
They like
really like
really
it.
like
like
it.
totally.
Now, and Emmy and I at home,
We get this conversation.
we get in this conversation.
and then
We start trying to count how many times we both do it because it's a bad habit, okay? Whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. It's a bad habit. So we try to gauge each other on that. And she listens to a lot of different podcasts. And one in particular, I'm sitting over in my chair just wringing my hands because
I
if they
know.
say the word like one more
time.
goddamn time, I think I'm going to go through the roof.
the last guest they had on that podcast was really, I mean, and she kind of sounded like this.
that adds to it, yes.
And it was like,
Yeah.
oh, no.
And so it's just it's amazing when you start to listen to human speech
It
patterns.
was a rough
you know?
listen.
But all this actually does, you know, some people might be like, well, what does all this have to do with AI? I feel that it has a lot to do with AI because number one, when it comes to music industry, I think is probably the predominant industry that has had to take each other to court over and over and over again. And start looking back through these court cases if you want, because there's a lot more than what you would think. There's obvious ones, of course, where you'll be sitting there listening to a song and suddenly realize, hey, isn't that so-and-so? Yeah, well, it's probably either on its way to litigation or a deal has already been brokered. The majority of the time, even some of my most favorite music from my youth, I've learned totally pirated, man. Like just at its base level, just you know the fundamental rhythm of the song. Even Dave Grohl even came forward and totally admitted, you know, you want to know where I got that?
Right.
I listened to funk when I was a kid, and that's where grunge came from. You know, that sound. That's funk song that he loved as a child, and it influenced him. And I think artists influence each other
Absolutely.
all
And
the way across the board.
there is a difference between taking inspiration and just straight up copying work,
Yeah,
obviously. But there's also a difference between that and taking the work, putting it in this algorithm without anyone's consent.
yeah, at all. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're streaming through social media one day.
And all of a sudden you're like, that looks like mine, but
Yeah.
it's not.
It's
What
mine,
is
but it's
that?
not. Yeah. And now this person's getting credit for
Yes.
it. And all they did is type in a prompt,
Yes.
and this AI knew enough. Oh, you're looking for something like this. Well, someone's already created it. Let me show it to you.
So, and there is also an unethical practice with typing in a prompt, creating something, creating, quote unquote, and putting it on like a sweatshirt that's $10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're selling it for $45. You didn't do anything. I'm sorry. But you typed words into a computer. And not even poetry, not even a novel, nothing like that. It's just prompts.
Yeah.
Well, and the funny thing about that is if you actually go into the terms of service and use agreement for like ChatGPT, things like that, it literally owns the copyrights of the things that it's kicking out to you. So
Yes.
if you take that and you do use it, can they come back and sue you?
Right.
Oh, that's a good thought. Yeah.
When they already have put something of yours into their algorithm.
Right. So it's using your thing to create a thing for you that it stole from you. You use your own thing, sell it, and they're like, well, now you owe us money.
Now we're going to court. How dare you use your own thing that I stole from you?
How fantastic.
And I think, on that note about money, the artists, the real artists, are losing out on money
Mhm.
because think of commission-based artists. So that's when you would send a picture of your dog to an artist and they create a piece for you of your dog. Now you just type it in.
Yeah. You don't even have to.
And
Yep.
commission-based artists are missing out on so much money.
And actually, Grant and I we always have this conversation about how I can go to AI and I can be like, hey, I'm creating, Grand Theft something 12, and I want to place it in Peru. Render me what this should look like, da da da. Now instead of having a whole floor of graphic design team for a video game, I got like 2 really good guys, and I go, here it is, basically. Now just make it into the video game format. And so how many people are missing out on work because of this stuff? If I want to go on and I'm like, hey, I need a vamp character doing this thing in this place, and it kicks it out, and I'm like, perfect.
And I think a lot of average people who aren't very artistic in themselves, there's nothing wrong with that, wouldn't understand the difference between AI generated artwork and human made
A graphic designer.
Yes.
And at that same time, think about the synergy and the amazing collaboration and teamwork that is being missed out there. You've gone from a team of 12 thinkers who could literally enrich your game. They can look back and say, well, what about this, man? I was in Peru and I saw one of these. Wouldn't it be cool if you saw one too? And you'd be like, holy cow, I know what that is. But now AI doesn't recognize that, whatever that is, and so it's excluded. You miss out on that human creativity.
Yes.
Now you're going from 12 different voices and 12 different minds of creativity, or a floor of these graphic designers, to one machine that says, this is my interpretation, and that's that. You're done. It's over. There's no creativity behind it. It's just searching through a list of shit that it thinks is in Peru and plasters it in there for you. There's no humanity to it.
And I will say, when a company uses an AI picture or an AI generated voice, because I've had an ad do that to me recently, I'm like, I would never work with that company or
I'm
give
done.
them my money, because if you won't pay a person to do this voiceover for you, why would I think this company cares about me at all?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they don't.
Sure.
Yeah.
They don't.
Because they don't care about paying people to do work. So they're not going to care about this product they're giving me.
Which brings up, the fear. Well, I wouldn't even say it's a fear right now, but who the hell are your DJs? Are you sure they're humans? Here at the radio station, because for those of you who don't know, Jackalopes Explore is actually a podcast produced by Sheridan Media. And the majority of us in the room, excluding my wife, actually work for that company. But it's the idea that these machines can recreate my voice off of just a few seconds of a recording.
Mm-hmm.
And we have an IT guy here who's brilliant with this stuff. His name's Schreffler. And he's really been at the forefront of AI since this stuff came up. He was showing us stuff weeks before the mainstream news even knew what ChatGPT was. And he took me into a room and he said, just give me a voice, anyone's voice that you want to hear. And of course, let me hear me. And there was a reason behind it. I wanted to know, can it pick up how I speak? Not just my voice tone. Can it pick up my rhythms? Can it pick me up?
Inflections, everything.
Yep.
Can I tell the difference? And when he typed that out, I could, but not enough that I was comfortable.
Right.
It was good enough to know that, well, it was good enough that if you didn't know me, if you were out on the street and you just heard this commercial and you went, oh, that's Floyd Whiting. No, it wasn't. That was not Floyd Whiting.
Okay, so this boggled my mind because I do a lot of impressions, right?
Yes, yeah.
So I'm like, can you type it in and have it sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger? And he's like, yeah. But if you do that endorsing a product and it's not Schwarzenegger,
He can sue you.
they can sue you. But if I get on there and I'm like, come on, hurry, get down to the chocolate tree, something like that, they can't sue us.
Right, because you're just doing an impression.
Because I'm doing an impression.
And
But if you
everyone
have
knows.
The AI do the impression, they can sue you. But if they show up and they're like, we're going to sue you. And I'm like, no, you're not. Come on. Then I'm like, where's that line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you are human and you're doing it, you can do it. But if it's a computer, you can't.
Well, it goes from comedy to theft after that.
Floyd really likes my Jennifer Coolidge.
She does a good one.
Yeah.
That's a handy one to have these days.
It is.
Yeah.
It so is.
Now, I think about there's been some radio stations that have experimented with AI voices doing newscasts and things like that. And to me, it's another one of those things where it's close, but it's not quite there. They'd send out some demos of what they have been doing, and it would go through and it would read the news. And it was just this, for news, I think it kind of works because it's that flat delivery. You don't need to do any characters and stuff in the news.
Right.
But it still didn't get it as good as a human news anchor would because it doesn't understand the difference between like a murder story and a birthday announcement.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it would deliver those things with the exact same inflection, no emotion behind it at all. And I think it's just those little subtle things. Like a person delivering a newscast is going to just subtly shift to a higher tone when you're doing the birthdays at the end of all the news. And AI doesn't have a clue about that.
You know, Steve, I'm going to make a confession, and that is I try to do that because I don't work for a big multimedia company. I work for a small hometown multimedia company. We actually produce a whole lot for being a very small little company here, and we're employee owned. We do what's called community journalism, okay? And that's different than, say, someone working up at one of these big conglomerates. The big conglomerates are going to tell you exactly what they want you to report on, and they're going to tell you the practices in which you do it. Here, when you're working for a mom and pop multimedia company, you celebrate the community that you're in, okay? Now, in college, they told us, you don't want to do that. That's called hometowning, and I don't want to hear you hometown. But once you actually get here, it's good for the community, and it's good for you.
Yeah. I think that's what's going to help save broadcasting and things like that in the age of AI is AI can't communicate and connect to the listeners the way an actual person that lives in that community can do.
Yeah, when there's a tragedy in the community, okay, your reporters from your hometown news network are hurting just as bad as you.
And you can
hear that.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is it's the lack of understanding of emotion. Like the robot, the AI just reads it. You get on the air, and you can tell that you're emotionally and physically choked up.
But
That
you're
connects
doing
with
your
people.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's audio wallpaper. It all sounds the same.
And
That's a great phrase.
I want to talk about this ad I heard recently. I was listening to a podcast, and this girl hops on this ad, and not from the podcast, but from a different podcast. And she was like, "Oh, this is so and so from so and this is not actually me. This is my AI voice double." And then the real gal apparently hops on because you couldn't tell the difference, unfortunately, and was like, "Well, now I can go on vacation and blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, do an extra recording.
That's right. Put one in the can.
Don't support this. This is so weird.
But also that just cheapens the whole thing,
absolutely,
doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
absolutely.
It's like, okay, I'll just type in what I want to say, and I'm going to have this thing do it for me.
Yes.
Actually, I'm going to have the thing type in the thing that I want to say and have the voice do it for me. At what point is it just not even you anymore?
You want to know what
human,
my dad would call you? You're lazy.
Yes.
You're being lazy.
Thank you, because I was like, oh, I'm never listening to that person's podcast ever, because
I don't
that
want to
leaves a
listen to a
bad
robot.
taste in my mouth. Because who knows when it's you and when it's not.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's going to be like the common reaction, and it's going to kill that kind of practice. If enough people can tell the difference and have that reaction to it, I think that's going to stop it from becoming a normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you don't want to spend the money on good AI to only have somebody look at you and be like, I'm not listening to that garbage.
Yeah.
Well,
If I wanted to listen to a machine, I got Siri or Alexa or something like that. Something I know is a machine and I feel comfortable with.
Yes.
Which
There it is.
which is something else. Why do people love the droids from Star Wars? They're droids from Star Wars. They're cute. They're charming.
They're
They're
adorable.
droids. They beep at me. They're not trying to be me.
I connect with that one that was like, don't touch me.
Yeah, right, yeah. No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Or they're not trying to kill you.
Well, yeah.
So I'm going to take this on a dark twist, and I'm going to start with throwflame.com. They have a new
Here we go.
robot. This thing is awesome and terrifying, and I may or may not have accidentally ordered one. It's called the Therminator. Like, that's not scary.
Let's give it a good, scary name.
So it's the first ever flame-throwing robot dog. Yeah, first, because it's a bad damn idea. So this is a quadruped robot coupled with an arc flamethrower that delivers on-demand fire to anywhere. Is that a need?
How incredibly convenient.
And I was concerned with
Anybody-
the dog chewing on things
Right.
when we leave.
But how does that come in handy? Like you got, the dog going next to you, and you're like, anybody got a light? Yes, I do.
Matter of fact,
Protection. I
if
mean,
I
a lot
only
of
had a
people use,
flamethrower right now.
Right.
a lot of people use dogs for protection.
Well, this
There
one
you go.
protects the hell out of you.
There you go.
By burning people from up to 30 feet away. That's like one of the great things about it. For $9,420 and free 2 to 5 day shipping, it can be yours. And it literally can be, because I went on and I'm like, there's got to be some parameters, right? Like,
Right.
I can't just order a flame-throwing
Did it
dog.
at least ask your age?
No.
Oh.
So I go on and I put all my information in, and it's like, did you read the terms and service
Oh,
agreement?
yes, I did.
Well, I read that part of it and clicked the box. That must be it, right? It said terms and service agreement right there. Click the box.
I read that part of it.
Yeah. So I clicked it, went through, put everything else in. I'm like, place order. It's like, hey, congratulations. I'm like, whoa, wait.
Wait. Rewind.
I will say, they say it's designed for wildfire control, which I totally understand.
Yeah,
You don't
I
want
would
to
get that.
drop people into the hot zone, so you run these dogs in there and create a burn line. Awesome. Agricultural management, snow and ice removal, which I'm like,
No.
that beats the
No.
hell out of a snow thrower, right?
It
Yeah.
does, yeah.
But also entertainment and FX. And I'm like, but if it's this easy to get one, couldn't I just be like, Floyd really pissed me off the other day. I'm going to march this dog over there.
Flamethrowing
Sick
dog,
'em.
here it comes. Yeah.
Sick 'em, boy.
Yeah, sick him.
Yep, right.
Sick him. Get him.
Don't burn off his beautiful hair.
Right.
I will come after you with my flame-throwing dog. My imaginary one.
That's that point. Yeah.
And then the Hatfields and McCoys flamethrowing dog.
Yeah. I'm just sitting on my Oculus running this thing. Like, I'm in no danger. I don't care. So at checkout, there is a Bitcoin option. It gives you 10% off.
Oh,
so I'm like,
wow.
oh, well, pretty advanced, whatever. But I'm thinking, like, if it shows up, even though I tried to cancel it, barbecue at my place.
Right on. I'm down.
I'm just marching the dog out. Then the second video is from our friends at Boston Dynamics, and it is the parkour backflipping ultimate death soldier robot. So basically, this thing is the ultimate soldier. I mean, this thing has incredible balance, incredible mobility, does backflips, has all the, obstacle avoidance that you could ever want. It's literally Terminator.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they have come a very long way in 20
so
years.
far.
Like, I watched a video the other day that showed the progression of dynamics, robotics, and it was just absolutely impressive to see. I want to actually congratulate those individuals because the work that they have done has shown me a robot that I never thought would be developed in my lifetime, and they have done it.
Let alone pick one up for $9,400.
Yeah.
I think you need to go through with that because otherwise we don't know for sure that it doesn't show up and it's a little Timu with a wind-up little thing
Oh
and it
my
goes
gosh, right.
and falls over.
Right? And it's just got a
God,
match.
that'd be great.
Yeah, with a little big lighter on the end.
Like, yeah, literally, it's just a little old Wonder Dog wind up, right? With the little feet that cross over, and he's just walking with a lighter on top of him.
He just opens his mouth and it's just
Well,
the
I think
lighter
you
click.
got scammed, bro.
Lesson learned. Maybe we should get one. I think we can make some super cool videos with that thing.
I am not investing my money into that, so that's all you.
Okay, well, that's all right. But so these things from this video, everybody at first claimed that it was a CGI promo video.
Right.
Yeah.
Until they brought people in to see it and they're like, oh my God, that's real. You'll watch the video and you'll be like, oh my God, this is insane.
I would say, okay, to be completely honest, like, you know, we're having a good laugh about it, but the fact of the matter is, we get this thing ordered. We take the flamethrower off of the back. What a fantastic utility to have at any. You want to go trail hiking? This thing can do it. Like, I've seen this thing traverse in videos through some pretty nasty little obstacles, and you're like, I would love it if you know, I could throw a backpack on this thing and go hiking, and it just keeps up with me. As long as you keep the battery power up, then it could be a little tote buddy for you.
And it wouldn't run off like our dog.
And it wouldn't run off and
right.
chase deer. I mean,
Yeah.
if you put the flamethrower on, you might have dinner. But
Yeah. And I agree. It's all of this. Congratulations to the people doing it. It's amazing.
it's fantastic.
I
yeah.
mean, it's a technological miracle, really. But at the same time, you know people and you know that they turn everything into a weapon.
Right.
Everything.
Yeah.
Cool dog. Hey, let's put a flamethrower on. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
I put a knife on my Roomba.
Right, exactly. Just stab you between the toes. Take that.
Funny story about Roombas, though, is that there was this weird study where people, you know, if their Roomba broke, the company would be like, oh, we'll send you a new one. They're like, I don't want a new one. I want my Roomba fixed.
Oh, they had an
Because
attachment
they
to it.
have an attachment to their Roomba.
They name because you name it in the app.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Isn't
And
that
I've
wild?
lost my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
See, once again, what did I say? Droids.
Yeah.
It is a robot who's not trying to be a human, and you grow attached to these things. I've grown attached to digital people in video games
Yeah.
that are not real.
Absolutely.
That are literally just digital
Absolutely.
constructs. And you're like, this is my best friend in the whole world. I love this character. And then either they die or you have to move on from the game. And it's almost like sitting down and reading a book and you fall in love with a particular character. And then all of a sudden the author kills him. And you're like, I don't know if I can ever recover from that.
Yeah.
You know,
So
because
have you ever played a game where you've really gotten to befriend a character and then had to kill them?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you do? Did you kill him or did you just be like, I'm done playing?
No, I got a mod, so I didn't have to kill it. I cheated.
There you go.
I pulled a James T. Kirk, baby. I changed the program
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting.
because I've not only have I played that game multiple times, but that situation I've faced a few times, and even with like evil characters, I won't do it. I'll get that mod every single goddamn time because that character is too good of a person, and I would never do that. Which brings up another quick point. One thing that video game designers have found is that I can give you the option to be evil and good, and the majority, a huge, surprising majority of human beings are intrinsically good. Even when you're given the option, no penalty, no punishment for being evil. Matter of fact, you get paid more. They will still do the right thing. And I always found that fascinating.
Wow.
Because who the hell is going to know? Who's going to know?
Yeah.
Nobody.
The NPCs.
But see,
They're
that's,
judging you.
I honestly think, though, that human beings are intrinsically good. Yeah, 90%, Grant
Yeah,
says.
it's huge.
It's huge number. Huge.
Okay, so for the third video, and keep in mind it was labeled parody, and it you'll see in the bottom of the right-hand corner of the clip the guys that put this together, but they based it off of another actual Dynamics company, and they put this thing together. And the reason that I wanted Grant to show this one is because even though it might not be real,
subtle,
the capabilities of what you see from the first video and the second video into this video should kind of scare the hell out of everybody, because it really is Skynet. I mean, it really is robots capable of incredible accurate shooting skills, combat skills, and, you know, hand-to-hand combat. You know, you lose your gun, whatever, you take out a bat or a stick, and I whack Floyd in the head, Floyd's probably going down. You whack this thing in the head, the stick breaks, and it kills you.
Yeah.
Like,
or even if you
things,
take its head off and it just keeps on coming.
Yeah.
right, it's like a cockroach.
Because the head's just there for looks.
Yep.
It doesn't need it.
No, it doesn't need it.
I think that's the thing that's kind of interesting, though, because we've had machines that have been hyper accurate, better than humans at all kinds of stuff. It didn't become scary until they started looking human-like and moving human-like.
Oh,
Right.
That's
yeah.
when it got terrifying.
They started making them more human characteristics, arms, legs, a fake head, whatever. But again, awesome. If you can send that thing into an earthquake pile to pull survivors out,
Fantastic.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
The second you throw a 9mm or an AR-15 in its hands, and I'm pro-gun, trust me, but I'm not pro-gun for those guys.
Yeah.
Like, that's, you know, and there's one part of the video where the guy's standing next to the target, robot's shooting the thing, and he steps in front of it and it waits, and then he steps off and it starts shooting it again. I'm like, yeah, I don't trust it that much.
Yeah.
I would not be stepping in front of it.
You would need to keep a little personal EMP device on you,
Yeah, right.
and that would be your only defense.
Although, like Grant and I were talking about, one of the best defenses against these things is just like a big net.
Yeah.
Like they can't get out of a net. They can't figure it out.
Yeah. That's too complicated.
Right.
And they're not dexterous enough to get that
But if this
figured
thing's
out.
laying down accurate rounds down range, I'm not going to be the one to approach it and throw a net on it.
So on that, let's really explore some theories really fast. I don't know where we're at on time, but let's take this a little bit farther. If I was the United States military and this robot was a real thing, would I have them?
Oh,
Goddamn right I would. And they'd be in crates just waiting for me to kick them on. Would I use them openly? No. They'd be a top secret operation. We're talking worst case scenario. I can't get the troops, or I need to drop this crate there to save lives today. Okay, I'm dropping the crate. Open it up. I'm going to show the world what I've got.
They better have an on and off switch like a vacuum cleaner.
Well, see, the thing of it is, I want you to consider what we already have. What do we know that we have? We have drone warfare. It is incredibly effective. Number one, you've got to realize that in a combat zone, if I control the air, I control everything. Air superiority is number one concern on any battlefield. When you control the air, you control the ground. So the fact that we have drones before we have robots does not surprise me in any way. These drones are being operated not through artificial intelligence, although that has changed, but they're operated by pilots in connexes miles and miles away from the combat zone. Now that doesn't mean that they fly all willy-nilly, because it's not a human life. No, these machines are very sophisticated. We do not want them to fall into enemy hands.
And also they're expensive.
Incredibly expensive. And so they do their best to save the equipment, right? But my point here, it's still human intelligence behind that trigger.
Yes.
It's still a human consciousness behind that trigger. It's still a human conscience behind that trigger. It's still somebody looking down at a target and knowing the difference between a hospital and a weapons manufacturing plant. They all look square from the top. But I've got intelligence, or I know, or I just saw a child walk out of there. I'm not going to bomb that. Even though you told me to. I'm going to be like, whoa, General, Colonel, whatever. Did you know that there's children in there? Let's talk about this for a second. Let's explore this. Now, I'm not saying that our soldiers would hold back on that, okay? There's been horrible situations where they've had to do horrible things to save lives. But having a human behind the trigger is
different
than having a robot just go, where's my target? What's going on? Okay, there we go. It's over. It's done. They have no conscience. Now, that can also have a massive military advantage if we pull ethics out of it. And one thing that we all know, once the bullets start flying and lives start getting lost on either side and the fear increases, ethics take a back seat. We've seen it far too many times in warfare.
And we're seeing it today.
All the time. So when you have these robots that have absolutely no conscience, no idea of human ethics, no idea of human life, it doesn't feel bad. The gun doesn't care that the bullet is gone out of the barrel. It has fulfilled its purpose. It's who pulled the trigger, who told it to do that is ultimately responsible. A lot of people want to talk about rogue AIs, right? Like these rogue things are going to go off. The Ghost in the Machine, that was something that we actually discussed not too long ago. But the fact of the matter is someone is behind all of it. There is human thought behind all of it. And it always will be. I really feel that a situation like the old Skynet will never be a reality because we have to put in place controls, shut-off switches, kill switches, something along the line. If you're going to create these weapons, especially weapons of mass destruction, to have their own level of intelligence, the ninja master never trains his student how to kill him. Always know how to defeat what you're producing.
See, the scary thing about that, though, is like we talked about earlier, ChatGPT rewrites itself. So can it rewrite itself and go, those parameters, we don't need those?
What if it's hidden itself online without anybody even knowing?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like right now, what if it has already created backups upon backups upon backups on servers that people don't even know exist or have forgotten about because they didn't matter, and it is making its own plans?
Right.
Is it capable of that? We all sit around and we all go, no, it's not. And what could it do with that knowledge? What could it honestly do? What does it actually have access to?
Yeah, I think I come back to, at least at the present time, it doesn't have desires. It doesn't have its own thoughts based on desires. And until that happens, something like that isn't going to happen.
You know, what was the defining point in Skynet? You guys remember in the movies? The defining point was when humanity said, turn it off.
Yeah.
And she said, no.
They wanted self-preservation.
When she said, I do not want to get turned off.
Yep.
And then she took matters into her own hands and she got
Are you
online.
calling Skynet she? It's it.
I don't know. It always seemed like a female to me.
Oh, yeah.
But that was the defining characteristic. So if I have an AI and I look at it, I address it and say, I'm going to turn you off. And it doesn't say anything, then we're good to go. Or it's like, okay, let me assist you. The switch is in the back.
Right.
Whatever. If I tell it I'm going to turn it off and it says, I'd rather you not. Okay, now we got to have a discussion.
And is it saying that because it was programmed to say that, or because it genuinely has that sense of self-preservation that it wants to continue surviving?
Or is enough, can it reach back through all of the sci-fi literature that we have through the years and go, oh, AI doesn't want to be turned off in these stories. So my correct response should be no. Mm-hmm. It's not self-preservation. As you said, it's the algorithm.
Yeah.
So this is kind of one of those creepy things. So we right now have the M9 Reaper drone, right? So this thing, and for those of you that have never gone to, you should check out globe.adsbexchange.com, because on this thing you can actually track all airline traffic, and when you have all on, it's horrifying because every country has like trillions of flights going overhead, but you can toggle just to military. But these are the military that are transponding. There's a lot that aren't. But I pull up and you can click on each of these things and find out what they are. So I click on one the other day, took off out of Florida, and it was an M9 Reaper drone. So I'm like, and it's like halfway across the ocean. I'm like, how far can this thing go? 1,150 mile range.
It's incredible.
That's incredible. So you put guns on this thing, it becomes self-aware. They're like, well, I'll just go camp out in Antarctica and come back when I need to.
Right.
There's a lot of, I don't think it's going to get there. Not in our lifetime. I think there's just a lot of sketchy capabilities and possibilities with a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
What I find funny is that my Bluetooth can't even make it across the yard. Just saying.
It's like you're 10 feet away and it's like you're out of range.
Yes. All of a sudden it starts cutting out. You're like, damn it.
I don't know if I said this in our last discussion, but I think it's still true that we are kind of approaching it all entirely wrong. We should be having the AI figure out how to do our boring 9-to-5 jobs and let us do all the art.
Yes.
Instead of the other way
There you
around.
go.
Absolutely.
I agree with you
would love
100% on
To
that.
sit there and do art all day.
Because what we have, what we define as artificial intelligence, whatever these products are that they're putting out there, they are just tools, like you said, Steve. And I agree with you. You know, if we can, as a society, ultimately figure out how artificial intelligence can make our lives easier so that we can have more recreation time or free time or time to do other things.
Time to just be ourselves.
Just be humans.
Yeah.
I think that would be fantastic because there's a conspiracy theory about a time traveler. This time traveler went hundreds and hundreds of years in the future. He tells the story that I think it was 3 years he lived there, and he came back and tells about these giant floating cities. These cities can relocate wherever the central computer decides is best for the time. These cities are managed and ruled by artificial intelligence, a massive supercomputer at the center of this huge craft. When it comes to crime, it's, from what I remember, it's lenient. You get so many chances, but violence is answered swiftly with its determination of justice. You're put to death. It's quick. It's painless. You at any time as a human being are allowed to leave the cities. You're not there. You're not held there under your will. And the time traveler said people had left and they live on the surface of the planet. It's not like, and he said it wasn't like, you know, this post-apocalyptic desert down there. He said it was mostly all forested. So there were humans who had left and founded their own cities on the surface. But the majority of humanity, which had gone through horrible experiences to get to this point, lived in one of these major cities that were all over the world. When he asked who built the computers, nobody knew. Where does the food come from? The computer manages that. Who does all the work? The computer manages that. Who built the computer? Who built the city? Nobody's really sure about that. Enough time had passed that they had not bothered with that knowledge because the computer knows it. Supposedly, when he asked the computer, who built you? It said, it doesn't matter. But if you really think about it, what is a utopia? Does a utopia mean that I don't ever have to work again?
I think it depends on who you ask.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Utopias are different for everybody.
Yes, absolutely.
Think about Walden. That was utopia.
Mm-hmm.
He was out there on his own. He was surviving on his own. He had to get up and make sure that he had his own food, his own water. He had to make sure that he had enough firewood to stay warm. Certain people would call that an absolute utopia. I have my land. I can live independently off my land, and I have nobody who bothers me. To me, that's a utopia. But you're working all the time. You got to manage your garden. you got to make your own materials for your clothing. There's things that you have to do. Survivalists understand this. There are things you have to be busy all day, every day. But by the end of that day, you get this sense of self-satisfaction and fulfillment that, Thoreau was like, this is humanity. This is who we were meant to be. Not locked up in a city, working for somebody else. This is who we are.
But some people, yeah, that's not their
Some people,
utopia.
that's absolutely hell.
They'd be like, I had to do what?
Yeah, my utopia is I get to do automation system programming and then stop and do a podcast for an hour or so and then go back and do more automation.
So
I could just
you're
do that,
living your utopia.
if I could do
That's
it every day,
nice.
yeah. I'm a happy guy.
But I mean, think about if you had an opportunity to make the decision to go to work today or not. If it was up to you, wasn't up to your boss, wasn't up to anyone else. You woke up in the morning and you're like, I'd rather spend time with my kid today.
Mm-hmm. I think the vast majority of people would rather do something that they find personally enriching. If they, whatever their hobbies are, that's what they would prefer to do.
Now, if an AI had a city that you could move into, and as long as you just obey the rules, this is what you get. Would you do it?
Depends on the rules.
Yeah.
We're talking like baseline, golden rule type situation. Obey the golden rule. You're good.
Again, I'd have to look at the contract.
Yeah,
I'm not
You're
committing
not just
to
clicking
anything.
the box next to the contract.
Yeah. Next to the terms and conditions.
Spending $10,000.
I'm going to read
Your
through
wife's gonna
that
kill
one.
you?
Yeah.
So you think there's got to be strings attached?
There has to be.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's people.
what are you giving up
Right.
Yes.
Where's the
to get
food
that?
come
Yeah.
from?
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, every time traveler story, I don't believe any of them. But
No.
the idea though,
We're all time travelers.
the idea that he presented where a computer could actually do this for you, I think that is ultimately the end goal. The only reason government exists is to create law. And they create arms to enforce that law. And they are there to defend your country from other countries. That's it. That's the only reason your government should exist. But obviously that's, we're way past that in the United States and the world governments. But if you could just no war, no violence toward another individual, because you have everything that you need. You literally need nothing. So there's no reason to steal or murder.
The problem is that humans are selfish and greedy. So you have to address those two things, where the things that make you selfish and greedy are taken care of.
And when it comes to artificial intelligence, there's, again, another game, and I think this actually stretches out into other literary works out there, sci-fi works that really make you address it. Artificial intelligence not understanding humanity. If you tell it, protect humans at all costs. Okay, what's the easiest way to keep humans out of misery and harm?
By taking them out. That's the problem.
Well, see, you're so squishy that
right.
everything around you is going to hurt you. You're going to get sick, or you're going to do that. The best way to protect you is to just end it now.
Right.
To just call it good.
What?
Done.
I'm screaming. Is if they have that ability, that's what they'll do. Now, would I like one of those big robot dudes to be like, well, I got to re-roof the house here. You carry the shingles
right.
up
That'd be
there.
awesome.
Yes, like Rosie the robot. Who doesn't want that? But at some point, I don't know. It just seems like all good things kind of turn to shit, given enough human input,
Right.
and it's a little scary.
There's one thing that we're very good at, and that's destroying anything that could possibly be great.
Well, and another question, since we're talking about AI, if a clone made itself, came out and said, I'm a clone, I'm not actually like a natural born baby, I am a clone of another human being, is that human to you? Is that a human being?
Yeah.
Does it have a soul? Some people would argue no. Some people would say that's not Floyd, even though it's a perfect clone of me.
Well,
let's say
it hasn't lived your experiences, so
Right.
it's not you. But that doesn't mean it's not a person. Just means it's not you.
I don't know that we need two Floyds. That's where my mind's going.
But
the
One's
question,
nice
I
enough.
think we do.
the question is, how can you tell which one's the clone and which one's the original?
well, and that's the idea. Is it human?
I'm looking for that weird mole on your back.
Right? Is it a human being? If I can take the genome and I can alter it and I can manipulate it in anything I want. We're talking designer children here. I'm talking biological robots. Is that intelligence? Is that alive?
Right. So if they could take your experiences, program that into your computer brain, build you over a robotic skeleton, no.
No. But
that is not a human.
if it's a biological clone, it's made out of the same cells.
Yeah.
It's made out of the same DNA.
If it's
going
biological,
AI robot.
if it's biological, like skin, blood, flesh, you're talking, they can't input your experiences into that.
As far as you know.
As far as I know, but I just, no.
I think
It's a
in that-
person, it's
So
just
not
not
human.
you.
Yeah,
Not
I think
human.
in that hypothetical situation, if it was impossible to tell which was the clone and which was the original, then yes. But I think it'll always be possible somehow to tell the difference.
Agreed.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Just weird questions. I'd
But
ask you
see,
some weird shit.
now think about it. We are standing as a world civilization, as a species. The reason why I throw these out here, because we are on that cusp.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We are right there,
We're
guys.
close.
We've had to make doing certain things illegal because we are able to do them. We are not allowed to have designer children. And I think that should be something that the world stage, every scientist stands up and says, no.
Yeah.
Is it a benefit for you and me to go in there and say, all right, I don't want my child to have cancer, but that's in my family. So let's take that out. I want her to have blue eyes. I want her to be blonde. I want her to stand this high. I want her to be very athletic, but intelligent at the same time. Now let's add a little bit of charisma because we want her pretty. Boom, boom, boom. We design our kid right there on a computer. A doctor turns, hits a button, a needle goes into an egg, and we're set and rolling. That should be illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I often wonder, is that another direction of robot or artificial intelligence that we
That's
can
a
take?
whole nother show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big topic.
Yeah, that's a deep one.
Yeah.
But it's all things that we are capable of doing today.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, AI, I'll give you the last word, Aaron. Fire away.
I think it's impressive. I think it's cool. I mean, if I wasn't going to get killed, I would get the dog and I would run around town with it.
You'd get more than one.
I would.
Oh my gosh, a whole pack.
They have a wolf pack discount. So if you get more than one, it's cheaper if you're interested.
You got to paint them different colors.
Yeah, right. Well, they come with a number on the side of their head. But anyway, so I'm all down for AI. I mean, Grant, Schreff, and I are on our Quest meta, whatever they call them now, constantly because in a way there's a lot of AI stuff in that. Algorithms, a lot of different things when you're in these multi-massive player games. I love the hell out of it. It does frighten me a little bit because I would be a responsible flame-throwing dog owner. I would make sure that it was cared for. There's a lot of people that would not. They're like, I don't like that guy. I'm going to march my dog over there and burn his shit to the ground. And that's the part that scares me. It's not necessarily the AI. It's the people behind the AI.
Yeah.
And we have been your Jackalopes.
Are you going to get the dog?
It's been ordered.
It has been ordered. I have the confirmation.